Alright, guys, gals, and everything in between. For the month of October, I thought I would do some themed retro throwback reviews. So for this wonderful building up to Halloween, I'm going to review some old school movies, or, not necessarily like super old, but just horror and monster movies, just stuff that would go in the vein with Halloween. Some of it may be some of my favorites, some of it maybe not so much. I got some special ones in mind for you guys on that. But I just wanted to go with a lot of those creature features, or maybe some of the ones that people don't know about as much. But first, I'm going to go with one of my all-time favorite horror flicks. Trying to do that weird ghosty sound. Scream! Alright, Scream is the 1996 horror slasher film directed by the late great master himself, Wes Craven. Wes Craven is one of the icons of horror cinema. He produced things like Nightmare on Elm Street, Last House on the Left, Scream, and Hills Have Eyes. He is a masterwork of horror. One of my personal favorites is the one I'm reviewing right now, which is Scream. Now, Scream is the story of a serial killer who goes by Ghostface, who calls up these high school students and kills them in the night. I love the angle they took with Scream. It sort of turned the horror genre on its head with the slasher movies. It's ultimately a bunch of people who absolutely are like movie buffs and things like that and are thrown into a slasher film. And they kind of know they are, because these people are following tropes from slasher films. Now, no one had done that before. I mean, you've probably heard of that cliche now, but no one had done it before Scream. And so that was a very special kind of thing. Because Ghostface is going around, and he calls on a strange cameo by Drew Barrymore, by the way. She just sort of was in the film. And Ghostface is sitting, he's like, "So, tell me, what's your favorite scary movie? Do you like it when the girl is home alone?" And it just, it's still got that creepy vibe. And Ghostface comes in, and he tears him up. And it's brutal, it's got that slasher horror type feel. Although one thing that's unique that I don't know how many people bring up, but with Ghostface, he's just a guy. So what I like is that, with like Friday the 13th, people run away, they trip and all that cool stuff, and Jason Voorhees just sort of hacks him up anyway, or they try and hit him with something, he's just kind of like, ugh, and then kills him. No, Ghostface, he falls down, they kick him, and he falls down the stairs. Like, he's an ordinary guy, but he's just gonna overpower them because he's getting them with a blitz attack. It's all the more scary because you feel like you could hit someone with a bat and they're gonna hit the wall, but if they're still gonna come at you afterwards, it's all the more scary. And so Wes Craven did this knowing that these tropes would be put into place and make it a little creepier. Also, Ghostface himself. Ghostface is a very visually interesting character. All these slasher horror flicks, whether it be Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, all of them have very distinct and unique imagery about them. And Ghostface has one of the most interesting looks. He's got that all-black coat with the white and the unique-looking face. I love the way Ghostface looks because he's creepy and he's recognizable at a moment. You see him at every Halloween party, and that's saying something. One thing I feel like if you watch this film now, it's all the more relevant now. Because how many times in media have you heard where, oh man, these kids shot this up because they played too many video games? How many times do you hear that where people are like, oh, all these violent video games are to blame, or all these violent movies, all these horror films? Ted Bundy, on his deathbed, was talking about how films like this, or like just horror movies, would cause kids to go out and do this. Like, the blame is there. So it is so genius that Wes Craven, at the birth of all of this, made a film about a group of kids who were like, well, we're gonna not get in as much trouble as we could, because we're going to blame it on the movies and the video games, and people will see that society created the monster. And I love that, because they're taking advantage of the system. So it shows it's not always the case, and that we look to blame something that we all know and not necessarily are fully familiar with, but we want to blame it right there. And that is so interesting that Wes Craven was able to use the media that way, where all of a sudden it's like, okay, so now we know how we have to hunt these guys down. We have to hunt them down through looking up ways about what happens in slasher horror movies. If you say you have to go to the bathroom, you're gonna die. And all of that, it just makes you point stuff out and go, oh man, that happened in another horror movie. It is the ultimate homage film, and it is great at any Halloween party. Guys, gals, and everything in between, Scream is an all-time classic. It is a must at any Halloween party. And if you talk to anybody about, like, oh man, what's a really good horror movie? Almost always within the first, like, I'd say 3, they're gonna say Scream. Especially if they're not one of these young, like, 13-year-olds nowadays who is like, Paranormal Activity, so scary. Alright, guys, gals, and everything in between, for the month of October, as I said, gonna do some horror films. This is the first one on my list. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got plenty more videos coming to you, especially within the next few days. I've got another horror film. Not sure which one yet, but I have some lineups, and I'd like to make a surprise for you. So also, one more thing, shameless plug. I love the Scream series so much that I decided to do my own take on it on my other channel, Monster Productions 27. I decided to do my own take where I did a Scream short film in the style of a found footage film. I did it with a couple of me and my friends. We decided to make it one evening. I said, let's do something for Halloween. We got together and we were like, let's make some weird found footage movie involving the Ghostface Killer. And it was a blast, and I will post the link in the sidebar. I also think that somehow I could get some annotation thing working, don't know. I'll see what I can do for you guys, but I hope you guys check that out too. And I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you very much for watching this.